I think this is one of the most underrated sports movies of all time. Now, I don't like Bruce Dern as an actor, but he's good in this, and because the role seems to fit his type of crackpot acting, because Bruce Dern unhinged, Gary Busey would have been good this as well. So today we're talking about, I'm calling this a Robert Shaw movie, and coming out after Jaws, drew a lot of people at the box office, Black Sunday. Now, Black Sunday is a 77 American action thriller film directed by the great John Frankenheimer and based on Thomas Harris's novel of the same name. Produced by Robert Evans, it starred Robert Shaw, Bruce Dern, and Martha Keller. It was nominated for the Edgar Allan Poe Award in '78. The screenplay was written by Ernest Lehman, Kenneth Ross, and Ivan Moffat. Ross had previously written the screenplay for Day of the Jackal, a similar plot-driven political thriller. The inspiration of the story came from the Munich massacre, perpetrated by the Black September organization against Israeli athletes at the '72 Summer Olympics, given the title for the novel and film. Now, in this one, Michael Lander is a pilot, played by Bruce Dern, who flies the Goodyear Blimp over NFL games to film them for network television. Secretly deranged by years of torture as a POW in Vietnam, he had a bitter court martial on his return and a failed marriage. He longs to kill himself and to take with him as many as possible of the cheerful, carefree civilians he sees from the blimp each weekend. Now, Lander is desperately in love with Dalia Ayad, an operative from the Palestinian terrorist group Black September, who controls and manipulates him. They conspire together to launch a suicide attack using a bomb composed of plastique and 250,000 steel flechettes, or like arrows. He planned to mount the bomb on the underside of the gondola of the Goodyear Blimp, which traditionally flies over the Super Bowl football game, and detonated over the Miami Orange Bowl during Super Bowl X between the Steelers and the Cowboys, in order to call attention to the plight of the Palestinians and to punish the United States for supporting Israel. Now, during a raid on the Black September safe house in Beirut, the Israeli counter-terrorist Mossad agent David Kabakov surprises Iliad while she is showering. His mission was to kill everyone in the unit. However, seeing her unarmed and naked, he spares her life and turns his attention to clearing the rest of the safe house, and she escapes. When the raid is complete, Kabakov finds a recording message which Ayad had planned to publish after the terrorist attack. The recording explains the motive for the terrorism, but does not include any specific information about the attack plan itself. Now, what's interesting about this, there was published reports that Martha Keller could only speak English phonetically at the time, just like Christopher Lambert in his early movies coming over from France. So the performance is quite strong. It's a cheesy movie, like it's a typical Sunday afternoon. It's not really going to happen, but it just, you can't take your eyes off it. Now, in this one, collaborating with FBI agent Sam Corley, Kabakov and his partner Robert Moshevsky try to learn the details of the plan. Meanwhile, Black September bribes freighter captain Takeaki Ogawa to transport the plastic explosive disguised as statuettes. Ogawa puts the explosives aboard Ayad and Lander's motorboat, but the two terrorists are discovered by the Coast Guard and forced to flee. Ogawa is then interrogated by Kabakov and Moshevsky, only for a bomb Lander had secretly planned to explode, killing Ogawa and hospitalizing Kabakov. Ayad disguised herself as a nun to infiltrate the hospital and assassinate Kabakov, only for Moshevsky to discover her before she kills him and escape. PLO nuns. Has to be seen for belief. Now, this was released at the height of the tensions between the pro-Palestinians and the pro-Israeli media and fans of all over the planet. So to some it was a heroic movie for Palestinians, while others it was a revenge movie for the Jews. Now, Kabakov then uses a contact in the Egyptian government named Rief to discover her identity, and Corley tracks Ayad and her superior, Mohammed Fasil, to a hotel in Miami. The attempt should to capture him, but Ayad escapes while Fasil is killed. Now, after searching Ayad's room, Kabakov realizes they are targeting the Super Bowl. Corley and Kabakov form a security detail to search the crowd for any signs of suspicious activity. Now, during the Super Bowl game, Kabakov figures out that Ayad and Lander have mounted a bomb on the Goodyear Blimp. There's a previous scene where Bruce Dern tests out that it's quite effective as well. Don't want to give away that scene, but it's, like I said, it ties into the final denouement. He and Corley commandeer a helicopter and set out in pursuit of the blimp, accompanied by a police helicopter. Now, loaded with the bomb, The blimp approaches the stadium. Lander pilots the blimp while Ayad exchanges deadly gunfire with policemen in the pursuing helicopters. From his place in one helicopter, Kabakov sees Ayad's face and recognizes her as the Black September agent whose life he had previously spared. This time he does not hesitate. He shoots and kills her. One of the few scenes in movie history where a man kills a woman in this type of movie. Now, Lander is mortally wounded, but he lasts long enough to succeed in flying the blimp straight into the Super Bowl, causing mass chaos and destruction in the stadium. Just before dying, Lander lights a fuse of the weapon. Now, with the weapon just minutes away from detonation, Kabakov lowers himself from the helicopter to the blimp and hooks it up with a cable to the helicopter, which hauls it out of the panicked stadium and over the ocean. A helicopter taken on a blimp, again, stretches the imagination. Kabakov unhooks the cable from the blimp and clings to the cable as the helicopter moves away to a safe distance. A few seconds later, the bomb detonates, firing the flechettes harmlessly into the water. Again, creeping terrors, quite good as well. Like I said, well put together for just a little over 2 hour movie. Now again, Frankenheimer directed, based on Black Sunday by Thomas Harris, produced by Evans, cinematography John A. Alonzo, edited by Tom Wolfe. John Williams, a great soundtrack, of course. Paramount Pictures came out on April Fool's Day '77, competing against a certain movie I don't want to mention. 143 minutes, $8 million budget, and $15.8 million at the box office. Now, some of the key actors, Fritz Weaver's in this as well. Michael V. Gazzo, our famous The Godfather actor. William Daniels, Joe Robbins himself. Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire's himself. And Robert Patton as Vickers. Now, the film was produced by former Paramount Pictures chief Robert Evans. He had early produced Chinatown and A Marathon Man, and director John Frankenheimer's frequent line producer Robert L. Rosen was credited as EP. As it hinged on filming a real Goodyear blimp at a real Super Bowl, many challenges existed. Luckily, Frankenheimer had a good relationship with Goodyear, ahead Robert Lane, and as a result, working with Goodyear on his earlier film Grand Prix. Lane told Frankenheimer, "You're the only person I've ever worked with who has kept his word." Frankenheimer told Goodyear that if he declined the use of the blimps, he would rent the only other large blimp in the world from Germany, painted silver, and people would assume it was theirs anyway. Lane granted Frankenheimer use of the Goodyear's blimps on 3 conditions. The film had to make clear that the villainous pilot did not work directly for Goodyear, but for a contractor. The final explosion could not come out of the word Goodyear on the blimp side, and the blimp itself could not be part of any violence. For example, nobody was to be churned up by its propellers. Now, Evans helped secure the unprecedented cooperation of the NFL, and the production was allowed to film at the Super Bowl X on January 1876 and shoot extensive footage with the principal actors for the film's final half hour as the Steelers met the Cowboys 21-17, so there was many scenes of Robert Shaw and the other participants on the field. Now, the production returned to the Miami Orange Bowl on January 29, '76 to film the final moments of the pursuit as the blimp crashes into the stadium. A mock-up nose section of the blimp was recreated. The thousands of extras needed for this footage, which obviously could not be shot during a real Super Bowl, were instead provided by the United Way charity in exchange for Frankenheimer directing a promo film for them, narrated by Shaw. Members of the Dolphins were hired and outfitted with Cowboys and Steelers uniforms to appear in the footage as well. Now, during filming of the chaotic scenes of panic as the blimp descends into the crowds, Dolphins player Barry Hill fell and injured himself, required a splint, and he's bandaged on his right hand. Now, Goodyear granted the film all 3 of its U.S.-based blimps for Black Sunday. The blimps were flown by company pilots Nick Nicallery and Corky Belanger Sr., among the 5 pilots who were involved in the production. The landing and hijacking scenes were photographed at the Goodyear Blimp base in Carson, California, with the Columbia N4A. A short scene was filmed in Spring, Texas, based with the America, and the extension of Miami Super Bowl scenes were filmed with the noticeably smaller blimp Mayflower, which was then based on Watson Island again across the port of Miami. While Goodyear allowed the use of their airship fleet in the film, they did not allow the Goodyear Wingfoot logo, prominently featured on the sides of the blimp, to be used in any advertising or the poster for the film. Thus, the word Super Bowl are featured in place of the logo on the blimp in all advertising collateral. Now, the film score was composed by John Williams. In January 2010, Film Score Monthly issued a limited edition of 10,000 copies of the previously unreleased soundtrack, remixed from the original masters. Now, the film grossed $15.8 million against a budget of $8 million. Director Frankenheimer felt the film was hurt by the fact an early movie about terrorism at a championship football game, 2-minute warning, had come out just beforehand and performed poorly. And the extended cut on television, with the film new scenes to replace the scenes that were cut out, was confusing to the audience. He also blamed the film's audience response on the fact the film was banned in Germany and Japan for obvious reasons. Now, the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reports that 75% of critics have given the film a positive review based on 32 reviews, with an average rating of 7.3 out of 10. And that's, I think it's 3 out of 4. Seeing the great Robert Shaw in this type of movie is just tremendous. What an actor he was. The site circuit critics' consensus reads, a smart, tense thriller from Frankenheimer. Black Sunday succeeds on a technical level, even if it fails to bring its characters to vivid life. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 57 out of 100 based on 8 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. In general, Black Sunday was appreciated more for its technical virtues and storyline than its character development. Reviewer Vincent Canby for the New York Times tried to rationalize his reaction. I suspect it has to do with the constant awareness that the story is more important than anybody in it. The characters don't motivate the drama in any real way. I tend to disagree. It works together because Bruce Dern is crazy. Robert Shaw is as good as Bruce Dern is crazy. And Martha Keller, she's unhinged. There are certain scenes she has in here. Very underrated actress. I only saw her in a couple of movies, but she's batshit crazy in this one. In a later review, Christopher Null, good name for reviewer, took exception and identified the one character who drove the plot. Black Sunday is distinguished by its unique focus not on the hero, but on the villain, Bruce Dern. John Simon said that Black Sunday is one of those films that are perfectly enjoyable to watch, but about which there is not all that much to say. Now, Simon did praise the acting of Shaw, Dern, Weaver, Gazzo, Daniels, Keats, and Goddell, but said Martha Keller lacked power and had no charisma. But she couldn't speak fucking English. Give her a break. Now, the Mad Magazine version was called Blimp Sunday, which was in Mad Magazine 195, and a story written by Dick DeBartolo with art from Ward Trucker. And I think there's a big line, the blimp is coming. He said, you know the movie? No, the blimp. Now, Quentin Tarantino has said in interviews that the sequence in Kill Bill Volume 1, where Daryl Hannah attempts to kill the bride in disguise as a nurse, is an homage to a similar sequence in Black Sunday. More specifically, he said the fact that the sequence in these films is done with split screens is actually an homage to a trailer for Black Sunday, which shows shots from the sequence in that matter, unlike in the actual film. And if you can see the preview for the movie, it's just tremendous. One of the better previews in movie history, well, at least in the 1970s. Now, Robert Shaw died soon after this, but Two-Minute Warning came across as a Cassavetes movie, because obviously Gina Rowlands and Cassavetes was in it. But comes as almost like a European thriller. There's a lot of kind of that's, the Spy Who Came Out for the Cold Day, the Jackal, that kind of ceases CIA spy thrillers, MI5. To me, this should be redone. I think Black Sunday with a different type of plot where you're putting in mini nuclear weapons or whatever would be tremendous. But that's what terrorism. But the background of putting all these kind of arrows into a blimp and blowing it up seems kind of overkill, no pun intended. You can basically use Agent Orange or Agent Purple or some type of device to poison them. But what a better way. And this was before 9/11, ladies and gentlemen. So I think maybe certain people took an inspiration from this, saying the best way to get America is hit them at their home, either in New York or the Super Bowl. And maybe since then, Super Bowl security has been the best in the world, maybe because of Black Sunday. And a great terminology, Black Sunday refers to the opposite of Super Bowl Sunday, because Super Bowl is supposed to be golden and bright. Or as when Dallas played Buffalo, it's so bright in here when they were doing it at the Coliseum. So it's well put together. But Robert Shaw, probably one of my favorite movies of his, and I've seen quite a bit. He really stands out. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here with our 1977 movie podcast, we just recently did Demon Seed. This is the opposite side. This is the movie that makes sense. Let us know what you think with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And just as a shout out, try to get 2,700 subscribers by the end of April. Please help us with that. It doesn't sound much, but again, 2,700 is better than 2,600. We don't want to get more and more people involved with the channel to understand the historical aspect of what we're doing here. We're trying to keep the past alive by reminding people the great movies and the bad movies they used to see back in the day, and there was quite a few in each category. Thanks for listening. Bye.